What is up, guys? It's Mitchell or Deity, and here we are with a tier list. So maybe you guys are getting into Epic 7, returning to Epic 7, but the Epic 7 6th anniversary is absolutely insane. So we are going to be getting 3 5-star selector tickets. Those selector tickets are a big deal. I mean, you get to pick 3 characters in the game that are not limited. So there's going to be a lot of characters you can't get from this, but there are some good characters you get from this that will make your account very strong. So I'm going to go over what would be the best picks. I'm going to tell you which ones are more new player oriented versus if you're a returning player coming back to the game, maybe which ones you should pick depending on your progression. And overall, I think E7 is going to be in a very good spot after this. They're doing some things with gearing that's going to make it a bit easier. I am going to make a gear guide. I actually will hopefully have that up before I start this guide series, just so once you get to the gearing portion, you just have that old video to pull up. But if you are going to be playing the game, restarting the game, getting into it for the first time, or coming back, I am making a new guide series following this. So I make Epic 7 new player guides. So that's what I'm known for at this point. I make one every time they make a change, which they keep making changes every 2 months, so it's very hard to keep up with. But I think we shouldn't have a change to E7 for a long time, and this is going to be an 8-week-long endeavor. I think we'll be done with the guide series after about 4 weeks, but we'll see. So I'm going to be teaching you all how to get through all of the game day by day, step by step, all the way up into getting into PvP of this game. So there is real-time arena, which is, in my opinion, the main reason to play this game. The PvE in this game is very easy, but they also are giving away a bunch of free characters to make that PvE even easier, to where you don't even need to think about it. So if you're getting into Epic 7, I highly suggest trying out the PvP at least, because that is what the game is, in my opinion. Both RTA, and then there's also other PvP modes, which are regular arena, and then there are guild wars. Guild wars, I would say, is either it's better than arena. Flag arena or the regular arena is not very fun. Guild wars is fun because you're in a guild and you fight other players. It could be good, but the RTA is the best part of the game. There's the most strategy involved. It's super fun. There's a whole community behind it over on Twitch. So I do stream on Twitch. That's where we're at right now. I am live. So we have the chat. If I say anything in here, they can chime in and give extra opinions. I think there's at least like 20 people here. How many people are here? We're trying to add credibility to this tier list. We have 242 people here. Okay, so surely move cam top right. Okay, I'm gonna move the camera up to the top right. Give me a second. I gotta figure out how to do it. Okay, so cam is gonna go up to the top right. So here we go. Getting into the game right now with the event going, and I think anytime passes, we're going to be getting the characters Tamarin and Brig for free. Tamarin is the best PvE, or playing against the AI of the game character in the game. So any PvE content, she is going to be the best Soul Weaver, which is a healer. Now we have Brig, who is going to be the best tank for PvE in the game. These two characters aren't good in PvP, but they are the king and queen of PvE. So we're getting them for free, which means you really don't have to worry about PvE very much at all. If you're following my guides, you will, from just the free characters, you'll be able to clear basically everything and not have to put very much thought into any of the PvE of this game. It's very simple. There's only a couple hard parts of content very late into it. You won't get there probably within the first month. It'll be after the first month is where you'll be trying to beat that. But by then, hopefully I can guide you to having a better understanding that you can make some decisions and character builds that will beat whatever content yourself, depending on who you pull. So there is going to be the thing that you're going to pull different characters than everybody else. So it's hard to guide people except with the free characters. So we'll mostly be using free characters. Sorry, I'm yapping way too much. Now we're getting Sermia, Sigrid, and Vivian for free. These are all free characters, and they're all really good in their respective locations. Sigrid's a monster. We're going to be using her multiple pieces of content. Vivian's pretty good. We're going to be utilizing her in a little bit. And Sermia, I'm probably going to have you use for a couple different teams in this as well. So all usable characters all get for free. 3 damage dealers, a healer, and a support character. So your PvE is basically covered. Yuna and Bomb Autocana, we do get them for free as well. They're not really used at all anymore. Maybe if you want to try them because you like the character, you can mess with them. That's the fun of E7, is experimenting with characters. But these are all pretty much just PvE characters that get that out of the way. Now we're going to be mostly talking about PvP for this list. These are going to be the best characters of PvE with a splash of a couple characters that make your PvE life easier. Now, Wukong is a character that we are not sure if he'll be on the selector thing yet. If he is a character for a content called Rift, which allows you to farm gear. If he is available, we will likely be picking him up with one of the selectors just so we can farm that content. It will add a lot of progression to our account. And honestly, the content that's Rift isn't worth farming if you don't have Wukong. Wukong will just make it way easier. You have to utilize less gear from your account to make that content clearable, because gear is the hardest part of this game. So if he's available, he's going to be one of our picks for sure in the guide. Next up, we're going to have our new player best picks, and the last two are returning player best picks. So Celine, Janua, Nakwal, Politis, and Asaria. So Janua is insanely strong. He's a I guess damage dealer unit is the best way to describe him. He does some of the most damage in the game, and he's very hard to kill. I can't go too far into each of these characters, but he is very, very good and pretty easy to gear to a point where it'll be usable. Celine is probably the easiest to gear best character that you could get. She also cuts off a lot of opponents. If the opponent uses a non-attack skill, so say they use a healing ability or an ability, any kind of support ability that doesn't target you, she will proc and pretty much kill a character or very close to kill it, and then she pushes up in front of everybody, and then you can kill whatever character you want. So not any character you want, but you can do, she's super high damage. So these two best damage deals you get from this. Next up, we have Nakwal, who's very, very strong, but requires harder gear. So she is a very good character to get, but maybe not first priority. As well as Politis, she's pretty solid. She cuts combat readiness in half. I'm trying to figure out how to describe this if you're a newer player, to where your opponent gets less out of their abilities. So if your opponent were to try to push up their team, she would cut that amount in half. And she also puts a ton of very good debuffs on the opponent. So those are the top 4 characters that I would say for new players. Look at these 4 characters. The thing is, Politis, though, we technically can get for free because there's a thing in the game called Selective Summon. So Selective Summon will get a second Selective Summon to where you can pull her, and Destina, which we'll go over in a second, is also really good for that. Now, we have Asaria. Asaria is going to be a PvE only character. She is a ease of life character, or quality of life character. She makes things very easy for you, but you don't need her. So this is a thing if you want to make the PvE content in the game slightly easier. She's very, very good, but not needed. But her artifact is really nice. So the layout of the guide I'm going to be doing is we are going to be getting Destina from our first selective summon, which you'll understand when you start the game. We're going to be getting Politis from our second selective summon. And then there's a thing in the game called Story Summon. So Story Summon, you can pick any of these characters on the screen right now, pretty much, with a few exceptions, that you can summon on that character. So you can open up the banner and pull specifically for that character. And we are going to be all getting Asaria. And it's going to be guaranteed. We will all have Asaria, and we're going to hope that we get her artifact. Her artifact is very, very good for all PvE content as well. So that will help us cover everything that we could possibly need PvE-wise. That way you guys can start looking into and trying to see if you want to get into PvP. Next up, we have Rain and Peyra. These are insanely strong characters. They require insane gear to work. I only suggest these if you're going to be a hardcore player and you maybe got one of these other picks, because these other picks are still probably better for newer players, or if you're a returning player and could utilize them. But overall, new players getting them, they require such high gear, it's a little hard for me to suggest them to you. Next up, we have our very good tier. And I'm not going to go over all of them. I'll just do a quick overview for the rest of them. Abigail is going to be very good after her buff. She makes it to where your backline unit, if they were to get hit and die, they get an immortality buff to where they can't be killed for a turn, and they get a buff called vampirism where they can fully heal when they attack, or they'll heal based off the damage they do. So she is a super good character for newer players to help fight against people who are really fast and maybe outgear you. You can put her with a character like Janua or some other damage dealer to where that character will stay alive, guaranteed, cleanse, and then be able to deal damage from there and hopefully turn the game around for you. Fire Ravi is a character that guaranteed crits and is bulky. She's hard to kill, and by guaranteed critting, you can build her with a ton of extra damage and bulk, and just very easy to use character for new players to get into the game. Lilius is a cleansing character. She's a knight. She will fully cleanse your team and also allow dual attacks, which ups your damage. So she will help mitigate damage, and she's just a utility character, very good. Elena is a Soul Weaver, mitigates AoE damage, so if someone attacks you and hits your entire team, she will reduce that damage, heal your team. She also has invincibility buff, which will keep your team from taking any damage for one turn. Very good character. Next up, we have Arya. Arya is a little bit hard to use for new players, but she's very good. She has a counter-attacking buff she puts on herself, and she's very hard to kill. I don't know how to describe her besides she's very hard to kill and will do a lot for you. Shu is similar to Ravi and the fact that she's super bulky and hard to kill. She's very RNG. She can counterattack and she can hit for... She can basically almost one-shot a lot of the characters in the game if you roll high RNG, which is good. So Shu is a solid character. Lua, especially for new players because she's easy to gear. You can use arena gear to build her. Next up, we have a character called Lua. Lua is another in-game player character, same as Ran and Para. She is not as good as she used to be, but can still be very, very strong depending on your draft and your opponent's draft. As a new player, I don't see you being able to utilize her very much, but if you're a returning player, maybe you could get Lua. There's a character called Laya, though, that shuts her down. And there's also a character called Festive Ida that shuts her down. So maybe she doesn't deserve this tier, honestly. Now I'm thinking about it, I think I'd bump her down a little bit. And then lastly, of the characters I'm going to describe is Destina. Destina, you get for free from Selective Summon 1. That's who we're going to grab because we're summoning a Saria. Destina is going to be your healer going through the beginning of the game. Maybe if you're a returning player, though, and don't have Destina, she's not a bad pickup, but definitely pick up these other characters first. So now the usable in PvE or PvP and don't get these tiers. I'm not going to go over each one of them. You can kind of figure that out from there. I wouldn't go for any of these. The only time I'd pick one of these if maybe you're from an old player that already has a lot of the other characters and there's a character here you've been wanting for a long time and have a use for it. So Fire Ken is a character you could use to set up one-shot Wyvern team, but that's a very in-game player thing. Maybe he's a character you need for that. Euphine, there's a labyrinth cheese you can do with Euphine to where you can farm extra currency every day by utilizing her. So that could be good for you if you're an existing player, but for new players, I don't think any of these characters would be worth it. Alencia is getting a buff, and Rowana is close to being up here. So Rowana, I'd almost put in very good, but right now, there's just better characters, and you don't really need to utilize her at all. So these two characters would be the top of the usable tier. But other than that, all the rest are okay. And then these don't get tier. I wouldn't even look at these characters right now. Maybe if they get buffed in the future. But for these selector tickets, don't even try to get them personally. So that is this tier list. I'm going to be making a bunch of different videos. If there are any videos you guys need, let me know. I will try to crank those out too in the next few days before we start this guide, but I will be starting the guide right after maintenance, or at least the account to start the guide right after maintenance. The first episode will be up the first day. I'm going to try to work ahead this time and get the second episode out a day early. And then from there, try to just get all the content done as quick as possible. You guys don't have to play the same pace as me, but at least that way you'll have the videos there ready for you. So it has been Mr. Deity. Thank you for watching. Any questions, you can comment them. I've been trying to keep up with comments and answer questions, but otherwise, join the Discord. The Discord is the best place. We're up to almost 14,000 people in our Discord. We have the biggest Epic 7 Discord outside the official Discord, except I can actually monitor and make sure people aren't annoying and stupid in there, which is great. So that's it. I will see you all in the next guide. Peace out.